play some cards. But 10:06 or 10:07, call the meeting to order.
11:05.
11:05?
Yeah, it's 11 here.
I mean, oh, mine says, yeah, 11:05. Went through Arizona, so
It switches your phone when you go through there. Yeah. You're on page time.
so. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And today we have a roll call. Next item, which I believe Mr. Commissioner Adam is here. Commissioner Mary Boy is online. And I'm here also. With that, we have full quorum. Is Mr. Mary Boy online?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Invocation, Marche, you feel like providing opening prayer?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chiche. I will proceed with the invocation. All the great creators, Heavenly Father God, we bow before you once again to be understood of many things. Even the acorn Tanasi Lane to Yaitza. The Yada Ben Hans and Dolesta, Diganaz, Arden to the Dars for them. Ben get your Honson Doris and so on the Schnedo, Ben get your Honson Hustling, Hojan Hustling, Hojan Hustling, Hojan Hustling. I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Mary Boy. Next is public comment. I'll turn it over to Administrator to officiate that section.
All right. So for today, there are two public comment periods. One, we have a public hearing, and then the initial just regular public comments that we have. Public comments, again, will be limited to 3 minutes apiece for those comments. As always, please be courteous and kind in your comments to the commissioners. It's not a time for debate, but an opportunity for the commissioners to hear directly from the public. With that being said, I don't think there's anybody signed up here. Hold on just a second. Okay, we don't have anyone here in the audience wanting to make a public comment. At which time we can turn to those that are online. If anybody's online wishing to make a public comment, please raise your hand, and then we'll recognize you. Not seeing anybody online wishing to make a public comment. We did have a member of the public come in and signing up on the sheet. You can come up. You don't have to fill it all out. Okay. Just state your name and address where you reside within the county. That was perfect timing if you're looking to make a public comment.
Sorry, let me grab my notes. Good morning. Sorry I'm a bit late. I would like to make a comment on agenda item 8. It's my understanding that 4 very qualified attorneys within San Juan County submitted letters of interest to fill the interim position for the county attorney position. I'm confused on why then the county would consider looking for other candidates or applicants when again there's 4 very qualified attorneys within the county here. When the Republican Party for the county was asked to participate in filling the clerk auditor's position last year when John David Nilsson resigned, we did so, and we followed the process, we followed the law, and we were able to do that without making the interested parties jump through hoops. I feel like this is something that needs to be filled promptly, as I'm sure there's many legal issues that the county deals with on a daily basis. So again, I'm just really confused on why it's on the agenda to entertain finding more applicants when there's plenty within the county. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Okay. Let's see, we do have one hanging out in the waiting room. Okay, is there anybody else wishing to make a public comment? Not hearing anyone or seeing any hands. Commissioners, that is your public comment for today.
Okay, thank you. We go to, I believe, agenda, which is not on here.
It's not on there, yeah. I'd have to look and see what happened with our system. So for today's agenda, you have the consent agenda items. You have approval of the check registers for April 2nd through April 15th, 2022. You have the approval for annual CSS 1-8 oil purchase. You have consideration and approval of the annual asphalt purchase for 2022 and approval of the various small purchases of $5,572 for a water pump for the road department and a total of $23,940 for various purchases of weed control chemical for the weed departments. Under recognition and presentations and informational items, you'll hear an update and presentation of the Forever Mighty campaign program, supported by San Juan County and the Utah Office of Tourism Grant, and this will be done by Elaine, our Director of Economic Development and Visitor Services. Under 9, you'll have a public hearing. You have to make a motion to enter into a public hearing for the consideration and approval of an application to attach Spanish Valley overnight accommodations overlay for the Curtis Wells development. This will be presented by Scott, our planning director. Under business action items, consideration and approval of a notice of award and intent to negotiate a contract, the San Juan County Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Mitigation Plan contract with Integrated Solutions Consulting for $29,711.60. Item number 8, consideration of resolution filling the vacancy of the San Juan County Attorney in a county with fewer than 15 attorneys. Item 9, consideration of a resolution of the San Juan County Board of Commissioners appointing blank as the county attorney, completing the term vacated officially on March 28, 2022 by the elected county attorney Kendall Laws, which term expires December 31st, 2022. Item number 10, consideration of a resolution of the San Juan County Board of Commissioners appointing Deputy County Attorney Alex Go as interim county attorney until a successor is selected. Then you have commission reports. After that, the adjournment. That's your agenda for today.
Motion.
Mr. Mayor Boy,
Yes, sir. Motion the agenda.
Okay. Motion is hereby made by Mr. Barry Boy for adoption of the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay. Any discussion or deletion or addition proposed agenda? There being no comment, then we'll go ahead and vote. Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay? None? No abstention too. Motion carries, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstention. Go to what is it?
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda now.
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Is there a second? Mr. Adams' motion to adopt the consent agenda items.
Second.
Okay. We go to the number 5 presentation.
No, let's vote on it first. Vote on the consent agenda.
Okay. Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, 0. Abstained, 0. So 3 in favor, 0 opposed, motion carried. Do we hear the number 5?
Under recognitions, presentations, and informational items, this one is an update from Elaine. Elaine is online from her hotel room live in Salt Lake City. No.
Good morning. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. As I've been here 7 months, I'm finally getting through a lot of the things that have been left with Natalie's departure. And in a review of the Forever Mighty program that had been presented to the Utah Office of Tourism last July and approved, I got to review the program and felt that we needed to make some necessary changes to what had originally been approved in this grant funding that had been submitted. So while the overall grant is good and it does support sustainability and under the Forever Mighty, and was approved by the Utah Office of Tourism to participate in this program with their share of $46,916.67. I took a look at what we were spending, the $22,958.33, and decided that there were several items that we could, and expenditures that we could put to better use. There were items listed in this particular proposal of swag items, which would have been poop shovels, wag bags, and a couple of others, design campaign, traditional Expedia expenditures. So what I found and what I feel that after review of our website is that we are in great need of more significant content when it comes to trails and maps. And so I approached the Utah Office of Tourism and asked them if it would be possible to take what they had originally funded and put that into more sustainability, educational messaging, but expand our trails and maps to provide visitors and potential visitors with more content versus some of the items that we had listed in this particular campaign. So they went back to the Forever Mighty committee and they felt that my request was warranted because trail content is critically important, and the sustainable messaging and more detailed information about each trail. And if you look at our website, you'll see that we really don't have a lot of good trail content. Our maps are all over the place. We've got pictures of maps. So nonetheless, I'm really trying to focus on how we can make it more user-friendly and more informational, and then the sustainable messaging. So I wanted to come back to the commissioners, since you originally approved this particular application, and ask for your approval in my taking and rearranging the funding and putting it toward more website content on trails. We've also worked on the Love Mother Nature, which was a program that was developed to be utilized for on our website and in social media and marketing. And the ads have turned out really great. So we're using those as well. And we hope for these ads to also appear along with other more critical sustainable messaging, in the content on the website. So, so my request is to take the $22,958.33, which would be out of the economic development budget, along with the Utah Tourism campaign of $46,916.67, and then combine that, switching it around so that we might be able to then improve our much needed content on the website.
Motion.
Mr. Heard Mr. Maryboy motion, second.
Second with a comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Adam.
Elaine, I'm really concerned about the removal of the poop shovels. How many poop shovels were we going to buy, and were the poop shovels for dogs or horses or
People?
cows?
Yes.
I think whatever animal might be out there on the trail. Except the wag bags would have to be, I'd have to have a range of wag bags to accommodate the different types of animals. So, and that wasn't included in this program. It just said wag bags. But if there's a horse out there, hey, I'm going to need a really big wag bag.
Well, I'm going to need a shovel. Are you sure you want to get rid of the shovels?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right. I've given my question.
Okay. Any further comments or question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Also, opposed, nay. There being none, all those, the motion carries 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Adams, I'll get you your own branded poop shovel.
Gold plated.
Yeah, you don't have to. I think I get it.
Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item,
I'd like to make a motion. We go into public hearing.
There's a motion to enter public hearing,
Second.
second by Mr. Maryboy.
Did I make that too soon?
We'll just have a presentation by Scott on this project. And once he describes it, then we can open it up to the public. Huh? No, we had the second and everything,
We need to vote on going into.
but we do have to vote to enter.
There's a motion made by Mr. Adams and second by Mr. Maryboy to enter in public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay? 0. Motion carried, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. We are now in the public hearing.
All right, you want me to present first? Is that the?
Yeah.
All right, just to give an overview of the application. You've got the application as part of your packet, and the developer is here as well and could answer questions if you have any additional questions. This application has been to you previously. Last August, it came and was approved for the Spanish Valley overnight accommodations overlay for this location. Now this next step is coming to attach this overlay to a specific development. So the application outlines primary uses, number of units, and any other design conditions. Those are all the things that are discussed and considered at this stage. This was considered at the March 10th Planning Commission meeting, and the Planning Commission voted to recommend that the overnight accommodations overlay be attached to this development with the following conditions as outlined in the staff report, and I can go ahead and read those. The conditions basically are that this is a residential subdivision with nightly rentals, 95 total units. They put a stipulation that they must comply with the Utah Department of Transportation requirements for accessing US Highway 191. The roads in the development are not large enough to be considered public roads, so they will remain private at the current size, and that was a stipulation that those roads remain private. They also put a stipulation that the storm drainage system, the ponds, the riprap, and the overflow into the creek meet the 100-year floodplain requirements and be engineered to meet that and any other requirements of the Army Corps of Engineers. They also had a stipulation that parking cannot spill out onto county roads or US Highway 191. They also discussed in the meeting a height restriction, our zoning, our umbrella ordinance, the Spanish Valley, or the San Juan County zoning ordinance has a height restriction of 35 feet or 2.5 stories. And that's from our zoning ordinance. So that wasn't necessarily listed as a condition by the Planning Commission, but that is in our zoning and may be something that you would like to mention here, that is part of our zoning, that height restriction. So again, this development has been there before. Those are the conditions that the Planning Commission felt were appropriate for that, and I guess any others that you may feel that you would want to place on them as well. So if you have any questions of me or
Mr. Adams?
Do we have any kind of estimation of the economic impact that it will be on the county as far as TRT, or will it be a TRT impact? Will it be a property tax impact? What kind of projections do we know about that?
So I haven't made any of those projections, and as far as TRT goes, that'll be dependent on the individual owners. They'll have the option to do these as nightly rentals. It's not necessarily all going to be a nightly rental development. People could live there full time. They could rent them out long term. So that would depend on the makeup of the ownership. As far as the property tax, I haven't really figured that, but it would be a substantial increase in there would be a over what we're getting there now on that property. It would be a substantial increase in property tax
And the development
assessed value and
comes
revenue.
right off of 191.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. If you look at the map, the conceptual drawing that's on page,
Is it this one up on
Yeah,
the screen?
yes, that one right there.
I can see that.
So on the left-hand side is US Highway 191. And so this is right off of the highway is where this access is. And then it comes over to
right there.
Tangren. It's listed as Ranch Road on here, but it's actually Tangren. So this is where S&S has their yard right now along the highway there, just south of is it St. Dane's Cabins? St. Dane's Cabins is right there, and then just south of this is where S&S excavation and
So you turn to go to the old airport, it's on the north side of that, or
south
it's on the south side of that?
south side of the old airport road. Yep. Old airport is probably a quarter mile up. Maybe half a
So
mile.
is this behind or adjacent to LeGrand Johnson's offices?
So it's further south. You have LeGrand Johnson's office, and then they have kind of a stockpiled yard of recyclable material, asphalt and concrete and whatever else, and then you've got a kind of an open field,
Mm-hmm.
and where that Tangren comes through the middle of LeGrand's property and ends and turns east. That's this turn right here, right there. So, yeah. So they show that this went through a staff review. We reviewed everything, and they came back and showed on this. This is a conceptual plan, but they did show hydrant locations. They showed the 50-foot buffer from the top of Pat Creek that's required. So anyway, they have that shown in there. They also changed the layout of some of the roads to allow better fire access to the entire development and turnarounds. So
As far as you can tell, they've met every stipulation that the county or the state might have on a development of this kind.
yeah, that they have or will need to. They will need to meet as is the condition from the Planning Commission. The UDOT's there was some question in the Planning Commission meeting about the access off of Highway 191, whether or not they would be able to use that or not, or whether or not they would have a turn lane requirement. That may be part of it, and so yeah, all of that they would need to meet whatever requirements UDOT has in place for that.
And it was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission
Yes, yeah, it was reviewed at their
and recommended we pass it.
Yep, at that March 10th meeting, and they had those conditions that I listed. So, you would, if you agree with those conditions, you would probably want to mention those, and if you had any others that you would see fit, you'd probably want to mention that when you
So
make a
today
motion.
is the public hearing
Correct. Yeah.
for this, and then after the public hearing, are we scheduled to take an action on it today?
I think that's the way it's
It is on
listed.
here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Is that you could act on it today? Yes. So.
And that's just to attach the Spanish Valley overnight accommodation overlay to this development.
Yeah.
so basically it could also be classified as a residential development,
Mm-hmm.
but they have the option to make it overnight rentals as well.
Yes, yeah, and that's the way they are applying as for their primary uses is residential,
Okay,
with nightly rentals being permitted as well in the.
okay, that's all the questions I have.
Any further question? where's 191 as opposed to?
Right here.
So on the left-hand side of that, if you're looking at it this way, it runs right along here. That's listed as Highway 191 on that side.
If you look at the screen on there, I've got my mouse,
Oh yeah.
the pointer on there.
All right. Any comment?
Grab that sign-in sheet there. So, members of the audience, are there any of you who are wishing to make a comment on this item?
Mrs. Sloan can just come up, can't she?
Yeah, you don't have to fill it all out, Holly. We'll capture you. Just state your name and where you live within the county. You can come on up.
Hi, Holly Sloan. I live in Northern Spanish Valley. This is kind of exciting because it's the first sort of big use of the overlay. And the thing I like about the overlay is that it forces us to be very intentional about where we put them, what we're doing. And I really appreciate the fact that you all and the county and the Planning and Zoning Commission is doing that. I do wish that there was more. I do wish we knew what we were going to do about the traffic off of 191. I trust that will all work out as part of the stipulation. So I think it will work out. But I worry a little bit about that much traffic going right off of 191. So I trust that will get resolved. The thing I'm mostly concerned about is the community benefit side of our ordinance that requires that developers that get an overlay come to an agreement with the county about a contribution back to the community. And I haven't heard any public discussion about that. There may have been private discussion about that, but I haven't heard any public discussion about that. And it's by doing that I feel like we really protect the county and make sure Spanish Valley, the benefits of the growth that's going to happen in Spanish Valley really flow over everywhere. It's what can these developments do for our county that relieves some of the economic burden that both will fall on residents and the county as we build up that infrastructure. So that's my comment.
Thanks, Holly. I think, Ann, you were next on there.
Good morning.
Let Mike down a little bit.
Okay. Good morning. So I agree with everything that Holly.
State your name.
Oh, sorry. My name's Ann Austin. I live in Spanish Valley, northern San Juan County. And I agreed with everything that Holly just said. She's very eloquent. I know that Spanish Valley has some ordinances that were passed, and there's a lot of things in those ordinances that are quite onerous and things that probably need to be loosened over time. But I think this particular issue of the beneficial public services and goods requirement is super impactful, and that the county should hold developers to meet this requirement. Some of the examples of such uses may include on-site and contributions to off-site employee housing, affordable housing, workforce housing, mixed uses, residential office, commercial and civic uses, public open space, mixed uses, residential office, commercial, on and on. There's so many opportunities here for these large-scale developers to help pave a way for improving the economy in San Juan County. So from where I sit, it just seems like a win-win for everybody. And I know there are some aspects of the Spanish Valley ordinances that the county may have issues with, but I think this is one that I hope you will get behind, because it's a way to gain funding for a lot of these projects. Moab's seeing all kinds of housing problems, staffing problems, and I think if as much as San Juan County can get ahead of it right now, and doing this in a way that it's not a deterrent to developers. But I think it's important to set the precedent now, because if you allow some developers to not have to meet this requirement, it's going to be harder in the future for the county to ask for those kinds of requirements. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Mr. Adams?
Just want, you may not be aware of this, Ann and Holly, but in the plan, they talk about energy, dark skies, and water conservation. Have you seen that part of it? Where they have dual flush toilets. I don't know if that means a two-seater or a one-seater like the old outhouses used to have, but it apparently talks about reducing water usage, which I think is good. They talk about they will install rainwater catchment system to help use the water beneficially for the I like the forward thinking, and of course you would be concerned about dark skies and the lighting from the development, which all of Spanish Valley I'm sure is, and they've addressed that and energy uses. So I just didn't know if those things that you'd been aware of those, and I think that, yeah, I think that's commendable for them to think that far ahead on the project. Anyway, sorry, Willie.
That's it. Any further comment? Anyone?
Okay, let's go online. There he is. I've got a hand raised from Monette. Monette, go ahead. You should be able to unmute yourself. Oh, hold on. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, hi, I'm Monette Clark and I live in Spanish Valley and not very.
Oh, hold on. You went muted again.
Sorry, I don't know, maybe I did that. Okay, anyway, I live about 2 miles maybe from this development. It's an overlay for overnight accommodations, and so it does fall under the Chapter 12 of the Spanish Valley ordinances as they currently exist, and that's the overnight accommodations chapter. So the chapter, I agree, needs to be revised to make it a lot easier to work with. But I too am very concerned about the benefits to the community. And I couldn't agree more with Holly and Ann about getting ahead of it now. The project that, like, it talks in the ordinance about specific projects that the developer could do. But our community, I guess we could just call it kind of raw. We're just getting started. So rather than ask the developer to come up with a project, I would think that establishing a fund would be the better idea, where a developer could pay into the fund, a fund that the county manages, and that fund would be dedicated to community benefits. And I think I agree with Mr. Adams. Yes, there's some great things in the design of the project, which dark night sky and all the light fixtures, the water conservation, xeriscape landscaping, and these are all part of our big Spanish Valley ordinance. These are different chapters in our ordinance, and they're all benefit, but the developer is merely complying with the. I mean, I don't think we should count them as a benefit and take away any other requirement that the developer needs to fulfill for the community, because he's merely complying with the law. So I'm concerned about the swimming pool in the community and the amount of water that might use. the 95 units is a lot of development and a lot of water. And I don't know if it's ever been mentioned, but is there enough water for this development? I guess each one of these units is going to be for sale to individual owners. Is that right? Anybody know?
There is that potential, yes.
Okay, so the developer owns the units until they're sold to different people. So it sounds like this whole development is a condo community, and there would be a homeowners association. I mean, who is going to manage the swimming pool and keep the community parking lots and all that stuff maintained? I don't know how they have planned to do that. And maybe that's not part of what needs to be known, but I know these homeowners associations can disappear because mine did. And we wouldn't want that to happen. So I just think that the application needs to be filled out with more details. If this is the whole application that's included in the support packet, I don't think it's sufficient. I think more details need to be put in. And in terms of the height, I think that we better discuss that, because 2.5 stories would mean a garden unit rather than a floor level unit. It would be partially in the ground. So this is going to have a very big visual impact from the highway and all over the place. And I'm not sure if the pictures, like the pictures of the building, if that's actually true to the exact design, those colors and that design, or if that's just a reasonable facsimile of what's intended. Because you can see on that first top one, there's a different kind of roof line. And then the second one, the different angles. But this is an opportunity for our county to perhaps establish a requirement or a precedent for blending in with the environment. And also, I'm wondering what kind of screening, because that's part of our ordinance too, what kind of screening from the highway in terms of landscaping, trees, or other kinds of ways to kind of soften the look. I think that if we want to preserve our rural character, it's important to visit these details. And so I think there are some unanswered questions that before I sign off on this project, I would ask that it become a more detailed description and just fulfill the requirements or negotiate them and visit Chapter 12 again. It's just the biggest thing that's happened out here. So I think the idea of setting up a fund that wouldn't really hold the developer up, where, if he has to come out with some kind of project for affordable housing, that will be another design project. He could also donate vacant land to the county, buildable. Possibly.
Just as a reminder, this is a public hearing for the overlay. So do we apply the overlay? Not.
Well, the overlay, doesn't it include this entire plan? I mean, is there some other thing that will be negotiated by the county? If you approve this today, is the developer coming back with the rest of the details?
This is a public hearing, and I'm trying to refrain from getting into a full-blown discussion with you. Is that the end of your comments?
Yeah, I think that you should not pass this today, but ask for more information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is a multiple step process on here. This is just for the overlay. Thanks for your comments. Anyone else of the public wishing to make a comment? Commissioners, we do have the applicant here. I'd like to turn some time over to him if he'd like to address the commission as well. Okay, so there's another
ahead.
step on here. Okay.
Thank you.
Members of the San Juan County Commission, it's an honor to be in front of you today, and I just wanted to just really briefly recount some of the summary items and answer some of the questions that have been presented by some of the members of the public here in person and that are patched into Zoom. So as far as the economic benefit, a baseline estimate of transient room tax revenue benefits between $250,000 to $300,000 annually, which is a pretty conservative estimate given current occupancy rates, in the Moab area. So that doesn't include sales tax or property tax. But I feel pretty comfortable with this number, and I just want to restate that this is a second phase of a three rungs in the ladder in the approval, and a lot of the concerns regarding height and those things. Right now we are acting as if we are being governed by the underlining zoning and the overnight accommodations overlay. So those are things that we fully intend to, we'll work through with the third, level of approvals. As far as the application itself today, I have to say, I feel really confident that we've addressed the questions outlined, provided to us by the San Juan County government and the overnight accommodations overlay. And it asks specifically for me as the applicant to address certain questions. And I took the time to read the San Juan County General Plan, the Spanish Valley zoning ordinances, and the overnight accommodation overlay. And so in working with staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission of San Juan County, we showed up today, fully prepared and understanding that we have checked the boxes to move forward. The community contribution comments from the members of the public here are very well stated and absolutely heard. And kind of the way we've been proceeding is Chapter 10 in the development ordinances outlines those. And as stated by the citizen just recently, northern San Juan County, southern Spanish Valley is still in its grassroots phase, and community centers are now starting to go upright. And so, what we've considered was at the third phase of approval to kind of work through that direct community contribution, with staff. And I'll just tell you, to be candid, our idea is just a direct financial contribution to the county for, an injection into some kind of community center or infrastructure that's a priority of the county. We're not immediately aware of what the highest and best use of that funding is. And so instead of just kind of spitballing, we're kind of hoping to have that conversation with the county administration and staff. And then another thing is with Spanish Valley Drive, being, only I think between 500 to 600 yards away from our site, we've considered pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure connecting the site and that general area to Spanish Valley Drive, because it's a popular road cycling and cycling corridor. Right now, the infrastructure for Spanish Valley Drive to Moab, it isn't great for pedestrian and bicycle traffic, but with the multi-use pathway coming from Moab towards the San Juan County line, we kind of saw that as an opportunity to make it more safe for pedestrians and people and bicycles, to get to Spanish Valley Drive. But those are just our ideas. We're certainly aware of that component of the ordinance, and I wouldn't come this far. I'm a year into this, a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of process to dodge or duck, one little line of the ordinance. We're ready to do everything we can to make all parties happy. But so again, I just wanted to address those few things. Thank you for the opportunity. And we look forward to working out some of these more finer details in terms of height limits and traffic and transportation. And one last item I would say is we're required by state law to maintain an HOA. We fully intend to do that to the benefit of this subdivision. I think it reduces burden from San Juan County in terms of road maintenance. In the subdivision that will be on us in the HOA. HOAs, as stated by the member of the public, in some subdivisions they just kind of become inactive, but they're required by law to be active and to function, and we fully intend to uphold our obligation. So, thank you.
Okay, looks like we do have another. Elaine has raised her hand. Elaine, are you wanting to make a public comment on her?
Yes, public comment as a resident of San Juan County and a former resident of Brand County. I am very familiar with Mr. Wells and his developments, and I feel very confident knowing his past history and what he has developed. I know that he will deliver on making sure that he meets all of the requirements for San Juan County. I have no doubt that he will. And I know early on, Mr. Wells had discussed, some of the things such as the bike trail, multi-use bike path along Spanish Valley Drive. And I do believe that that would be an incredible plus to this development. So, and I know he's considering it. We had discussed it several months ago. So I feel confident that this development will be premier. It will be everything he's has outlined in his proposal. And I do believe that he will deliver on everything that, knowing Mr. Wells for several years and working with him in Grand County, I feel confident that it will be an incredible development to bring to northern San Juan County. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else with their hand raised on here.
I'll make a motion, we come out of public hearing.
Okay, motion is set by Mr. Adams to exit the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Now with that, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Kenneth? She's still online?
That's a vote on coming out of the public hearing, right?
Right.
Yes, aye.
Okay. Opposed, nay? 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion carries. Now we're out of the public hearing. Need another motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve this phase of the application for the Spanish Valley Overnight Accommodation Overlay as presented by
Scott.
who? Scott Burton, and in behalf of Curtis Wells.
Motion is made by Mr. Adams to approve the presentation as indicated. There's going to be a 3-phase. This is the first phase of the
Second phase of a
second phase
three-phase process.
of the 3-phase process. Is there a second to the motion? Oh,
You're in trouble.
by lunchtime. I'll go ahead and second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay?
Nay.
Okay. 3 in favor, 1 opposed. 2 in favor, 1 opposed. Sometimes I get 6-finger hand. With that, going down to business items. Number 7.
All right, let's pull it up on the screen here so everybody can see it. Item number 7, consideration and approval of a notice of award and intent to negotiate a contract. This is for the San Juan County Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Mitigation Plan with Integrated Solutions Consulting for $29,711.60. County staff had issued a request for proposal seeking a vendor that can come and assist the county in developing a county-wide hazard mitigation plan and program. This company, Integrated Solutions Consulting, was the most responsive proposal. Out of 2 proposals, we had another proposal from the Rural Community Consultants / Jones and DeMille Engineering. As the evaluation team sat and reviewed them, they were super impressed with Integrated Solutions Consulting. Integrated Solutions Consulting does this regularly as a business. So they go through and do hazard mitigation plans, work with FEMA, work with the states. They've had some experience here in the state of Utah, Salt Lake County. We reached out to seek references from them as well, and just going through their proposal itself, that it falls in line with everything we want. There'll be a heavy public participation involvement in here where we'll be reaching out to the cities and towns, kind of exploring their hazards that they have in their areas, as well as chapters down south. We've reached out to the chapters before in the past. There hasn't been a lot of interest in working with us, but we'll reach out again with the Navajo Nation's emergency management, their planner. We also have the state liaison who we'll work with to try to get more involvement in this. But this is that first stage. We'll bring this back after this is approved. We'll bring this back in a contract with Integrated Solutions Consulting next.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Maryboy.
I'll second the motion to approve the award of the negotiated contract with Integrated Solutions. Is that right?
29,000.
29,000, yeah.
With the amount stated, $29,711.60.
Right.
With that, any further question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, thank you, commissioners.
Number 8.
Okay, item number 8 was consideration of a resolution filling the vacancy of the San Juan County Attorney and county with fewer than 15 attorneys. This is a resolution that we had asked to put on the agenda. In the packet, I provided additional information with this item specifically, and the entire process that we have gone through, beginning with the clerk auditor, Lyman Duncan, and his efforts to fill the vacancy of that was left by Kendall. And if you'd like, or if you'd allow me to, I can go through, kind of explain our process that we've gone through here, and also in comparison with the state code that we're required to follow for that process in light of this resolution that we have before us. You okay with that?
Motion.
Motion,
Motion.
What's the motion?
Motion.
What is the motion?
Motion to approve with 3 amendments.
okay.
The 3 amendments.
What's the amendments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I've stated, the motion to approve the resolution and also amending the dates in the final 3 paragraphs is April 22nd, May 4th, and May 5th, respectively. If I could make that an amendment to that motion.
Can you rephrase that? Amendment number 1.
Amendment number 1, there's 3 amendments, but number 1 would be that on that item number 8 resolution, the amendment including amending the date in the final 3 paragraph would be April 22nd, May 4th, May 5th. And as it was forwarded to us by the Democratic Party to resolve this particular issue with those 3 amendments that I've motioned, sir.
So,
Let's have him explain it. I don't understand what he's saying.
Or the other amendments. that just one
Mr. McDonald, can you provide some information?
Yeah. So that was one amendment that you had. Did you have more amendments to that? Or were those all 3?
Those 3.
Okay, those 3. Okay, so we do have a motion on the table. If you'd like, commissioners, you mentioned, I can go through this and discuss the whole entire resolution and what we've done, because some of these items in here they don't make sense. And then you can, unless you want to just seek for a second on there, and it's up to you. I can definitely explain what we've done as a process.
Go ahead and provide a time for Mr. McDonald to provide some information
clarification.
on the
Okay.
issue.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to take you back to the top of the resolution and kind of go through. In here, it states that the clerk auditor, and this is all pursuant to Utah Code 20A-1-509.2 that we'll be discussing on here. So the clerk auditor, by law, is supposed to send a letter to each licensed active member in good standing with the Utah State Bar residing in San Juan County, informing them of the vacancy and inviting those attorneys to submit applications to be considered for the appointment as the county attorney. On here, it states in the resolution that the clerk received four expressions of interest for the vacancy, but did not receive more than 3 actual applications. On here, I've attached the clerk auditor's letters that he sent out. He had solicited actually 5 attorneys that met those qualifications on here. In the clerk auditor's letter that he sent out, and he followed the law, he's like, we have to tell them that the attorney has resigned the position, that these individuals are a registered voter and licensed active attorney in good standing who resides in San Juan County, and invites them to apply for this vacancy. He had reached out to the Utah State Bar, and they provided a list of active licensed attorneys in San Juan County and who are registered to vote here, and they are in good standing. And so we had 5. So he solicited this letter, sent it out to 5 of those applicants, asking for them to apply for this vacancy. In here, his requirement to do that, he mentioned you have 10 calendar days from the date of this letter to submit your declaration of candidacy. So in order to apply, all you have to do is submit a letter declaring your candidacy. That's what he asked for. That's what the law requires, that he solicit people to apply. It doesn't tell you in state code, and this is state code. In this section, he informs the attorney of the vacancy, invites the attorney to apply, and informs the attorney that he has 10 days. He has completed this section exactly as stated in Utah Code. It doesn't state in that code, in that section, how to apply. Well, Lyman listed you need to apply by submitting a letter declaring your candidacy. We had looked in that, and you look at state code in this section, there is no definition for application. And you see in a further letter that we have from King County there, if you look at the Webster Dictionary under application, whatever form is requested. So the clerk auditor, he's asked them to apply, submitting that letter of declaration of candidacy. He didn't tell them it had to be 2 paragraphs long. He didn't say it had to list your resume, work history, any of that information. Just send me a letter of interest with your declaration of candidacy. Therefore, item 2 in its entirety has been met. On there, we received 4 applicants back. Now, on the resolution, going back up to the resolution, for some reason, the resolution disqualifies some of those applicants and I don't know why it had mentioned in here, it's 4 expressions of interest for the vacancy, but did not receive more than 3 actual applications. We had received 4 letters of interest back from attorneys. So the next step in the process is to notify the central committee who of whichever party Kendall was aligned with. And Kendall, he had was elected on the Democratic Party. And so because of that, we had to notify the Central Committee, the Democratic Central Committee here in San Juan County, that we had received 4 letters of interest or declaration of candidacy back from valid licensed attorneys in San Juan County, meeting that obligation. And so Lyman sent out a letter to them, which is also in your packet, Democratic Party. He notifies them that he has been in contact with the State Bar Association and requested, so he tells them the law. He requested the list from the Utah State Bar, where we currently have 5 attorneys that meet the qualifications. He mailed them the letters. He received them by the deadlines. He mentions I was contacted by 4 attorneys who expressed interest in the attorney's position. Therefore, I submit to the County Democratic Party the names of the applicants: Craig C. Halls, Brittany Ivins, Daniel Anderson, and Alex Global. And then also inform them that the Democratic Party has 20 days to nominate 3 individuals to the county commission. And then upon receiving the names of the 3 candidates, commissioners will select the attorney to fill that open county vacancy. So he sends them what he had received from the attorneys as well, which was those letters up here declaring their interest. You have one here from Brittany. Again, he didn't tell them how long it had to be. Brittany, in her response to the clerk auditor, was, I'd like to submit my name to be considered for the position of San Juan County Attorney. So she has done that. You see the letter of intent that's coming from Alex Global. Then you have the letter of interest from Craig Halls on here as your 3rd. And then you have the letter or the email coming from Daniel Anderson, the 4th attorney. So you had 4 attorneys that had submitted that. So back to the resolution on here. So it states that after Lyman sent those letters to the party immediately contacted each of the 4 attorneys who had expressed an interest in the vacancy, requesting that they submit actual applications by the close of business Monday, April 4th, including a letter of interest explaining why they were qualified for and why they wanted the appointment to fill the county attorney vacancy, as well as a current resume on here. So the Democratic Party, once they get it in Utah Code, this is all that it states that the Central Party should do. So we're under Section 3 because we received 4. So where there is more than 4, where there's more than 3 attorneys who are licensed, which is which section we are in. Now, there's a difference between Section 3 and Section 4 on here. If we had received 3 or less attorneys, then we fall under Section 4 of Utah Code, which allows us to go out and solicit additional applications. And so this is where the resolution is trying to take us. This is also where the Democratic Party is trying to push us to as well, to solicit additional applicants. But because we received 4 on here, then we are under Section 3 of this law, which if there are more than 3 attorneys who are licensed active members in good standing with the Utah State Bar and registered voters in the county or district have applied for the vacancy, the county clerk shall, except as provided in subsection 3A2, submit the applications to the county central committee of the same political party of the prior office holder. So he has done that, 3A1 on there, 3AI. part B of this paragraph, so 3B, this is what the Central Committee should do. This is what the Democratic Party, and this is a shall. This is not a maybe or whatever. It's the Central Committee shall nominate 3 of the applicants and forward the applicant's name to the county legislative body before 5 p.m. within 20 days after the day on which the county clerk submits the applicant's names under subsection 3A. The Central Party, so as you've seen in Lyman's letter to the Central Party, saying, hey, we have 4, and here are their names. You have until April 17th, 5 p.m. to submit 3 names. That's all they had to do, and it's, like I said, it's a shall. So when the Central Party received those names, there, as it mentions in the resolution, we had received this email back from the Central Party on April 7th, which they notified commissioners that they had received the notice of vacancy from the clerk auditor. They acknowledged the deadline that was in the law. What they had mentioned in here is, however, since the San Juan County Democratic Party Central Committee did not receive bona fide applications for all 4 attorneys from the clerk, we recognize the importance of the office of the county attorney. We emailed each of the 4 attorneys on March 31st, 2022, and requested they submit a letter of interest describing in detail. So they wanted a letter of interest describing in detail their prior experience, why they're interested in the position, why they think they are the best qualified to handle the duties of the county attorney, and any time or substantive restrictions and or conflicts with the current legal practice. We also asked each to attach their current curriculum vitae, which is their resume. We requested the attorneys submit their application to the San Juan County Democratic Party Central Committee by close of business Monday, April 4th. In that, they also acknowledged we received letters of interest and associated CVs from 2 of the 4 attorneys by close of business Monday, April 4th. We received an email from a 3rd attorney on Tuesday, April 5th. That is an application for the Grand County Justice Court position. In here, I included each of the letters that they sent to each of the attorneys that the clerk auditor had given them. In here, it's kind of a little bit different than what is stated in their email to you. They had asked on here, they request that you submit, so this is the applicant, Mr. Goebbels, this is the one that was sent to him. They request that you submit an application that includes a letter of interest. I've never had an application with a letter of interest describing in detail your prior experience, why you're interested in the position, why you think you're the best qualified to handle the duties of the county attorney, and any time substantive restrictions. So it's kind of a little bit opposite of what they stated in their letter, but nevertheless, they feel that because they didn't receive any bona fide applications, even back from those attorneys, that they can no longer continue with the process. And so in their letter to you, they had recommended that you advertise and make a selection from additional applicants pursuant to the provisions of 509.24B. So if you go back to the law in here, the only legal obligation that the Central Committee has is they shall nominate 3 of the applicants. What they did is they sent you an email saying, we don't like those applications. They weren't bona fide. They didn't send in an application, other than one sent in an application for another county. Therefore, you need to go out and seek other applications. That's that's not their purview. They were supposed to nominate 3 of those 4 and get those names to you. And so because of that, we sent them back another letter to them on, let's see, let me pull that one out. So these are the responses back. So they actually had a couple of the attorneys actually go a little bit further and respond to their requirements that they wanted. The letter of interest and statement of qualifications, a little bit more in-depth information. So they had even Daniel Anderson, he replied back to the Central Committee, providing their listed requested items that they wanted, his previous experience, interest in the position, why they feel they're qualified, and then time restriction or time constraints and availability of time. Let's see, on here you also have Craig Halls. This is the one in question where he responded back to them and, like they had asked, provided an application of which he had filled out for another position, but he complied to what their letter had suggested. Send me an application. Okay, here's an application. So he sent them that application so that they could look at one of his applications with his letter of interest, explaining the items. So once we received that on April 7th, we reviewed everything with the attorney, King County attorney, and sent this letter back out to the Democratic Party, acknowledging that the clerk auditor did in fact receive 4 applications. There were 4 attorneys that applied to his request, and in the end is all that their obligation is to do is to nominate. They shall nominate 3 of the applications. We reiterated the date on there, which they had to comply with, was April 17th by 5 p.m. When we talked to the King County attorney, the King County attorney says, you could probably extend that another day. April 17th is a Sunday. We're closed on Sundays, and so it would make sense, therefore, to at least give them another day so they didn't have to work on Sunday or the Sabbath day, whatever their case is, but push that into Monday. You'd be fine with that. And so clerk auditor sent that letter back to them. They had then reapplied or resubmitted an email back to the clerk auditor on April 13th, acknowledging receipt of their letter, the letter that Lyman had sent them. They stated at that time that the San Juan County Democratic Party did not receive applications from more than 3 attorneys, and we stated in our recent letter to the County Commission we have no authority to move forward with the process of filling the county attorney vacancy under the Utah Code 20A-1-509.2, Section 3 of that. They note their input, but as we read that section, the county clerk does not have the authority under the vacancy filling statute to interpret what qualifies as an application or otherwise to vet the candidates to fill this vacancy. The clerk's office definitely has no authority to extend the statutory deadline. Moreover, at this point in time, the San Juan County Democratic Party likewise no longer has a statutory role to fulfilling in performing any vacancy-related tasks. The authority to fill the vacancy rests solely with the County Commission. So back to that resolution. Okay, and so we left off the party received letters of interests and that 2019 application for a judge position. Then it goes over what the party did. They notified us, like I had mentioned, on April 7th. on here states that whereas the commission has reviewed the letters and applications forwarded by the party to the commission, we're hoping that you've reviewed those. In another whereas here, pursuant to this, if 3 or fewer attorneys who are licensed members in good standing of the Utah State Bar and are registered voters in the county and the district submit applications, county legislative body may publicly solicit and accept additional applications from licensed active members. That's a true statement, but again, we're not under Section 4. We're under Section 3, where we did have 4 attorneys who are licensed members in good standing of the Utah State Bar and registered voters of the county apply for what Lyman had asked for. When it mentions in here, the clerk auditor needs to do this, didn't do this, questions of applications. What is a true application? Like I'd mentioned to you, that's when I reached out to Kane County, their attorney there, asking for advice. I couldn't go to the San Juan County Attorney's office. Obviously, you have Kendall that's gone, and both of our employees, Alex and Brittany, had applied for the vacancy. So that pretty much left them in a conflict of interest with this process, which is why I reached out to King County. The process actually started with USIP. I contacted Johnny with USIP, and I'm like, Johnny, I have an issue here. As we go through this process, is there an attorney that I can consult with? And he had indicated that King County is a like county unto San Juan County, and that it certainly is apropos to contact another attorney to help fill in with this process. And so you see in here, and I provided to you last week before the packets came out, his letter that he submitted to you. He goes through quite in depth the details of the letter and the whole entire process. I've kept him up to date. I've provided him all of the applications, all of our communications that have either gone out to the attorney, has gone out to the Democratic Party. Anything that came back in went to the commissioners, whatever the case was. I made sure that he was fully aware of that. In here, in his summary of legal opinion, he clearly states that more than 3 attorneys who are residents of the county have applied for the vacant county attorney position. Therefore, the process outlined in Utah Code 20A-1-509.2, Section 3, governs the further actions in the appointment process. So he acknowledges that in his legal opinion. He mentions that as of this date, so he had wrote this last week on the 15th. The Central Party had until the 17th or the 18th to fill that obligation, to submit 3 nominees. So it narrowed it down from the 4 names down to 3, which they have not done as of that date and that time. If they fail to nominate 3 attorneys, which appears to be their current intent, then San Juan County Commission would be obligated to nominate one of the 4 applicants. So instead of, because they didn't narrow it down to 3, you now have the requirement to nominate one of 4. San Juan County Commission does not have the authority under Utah Code 20A-1-509.2, Section 4A and B to solicit additional applicants outside of the county, nor to appoint any attorney outside of the 4 original applicants. If the county commission were to solicit additional applicants outside of the county as set forth in their proposed resolution, which we're discussing now, if they subsequently appoint an attorney outside of the 4 original applicants, this appointment would be unlawful and likely void. Additionally, 128 is the days after the vacancy, and he's just reciting code here that you are, and this is a shall, be required to select one of the 4 original applicants. If you cannot do that, then it goes to the governor to appoint one of those 4 attorneys. He lists the law here that we've looked at, kind of went through the facts. Hoping you had a chance to go through those facts on here. When you get down into further the legal analysis, I wanted to take you and just point out a couple of the things that he had mentioned in here. He had reviewed their process, the Democratic Party process, and you can see that it only states in the law that the Democratic or the Central Committee shall nominate 3. It doesn't explain a process of how they should get there, how they should get to the 3. And you've seen in their letters that they sent out to the attorneys, they asked for additional information. They asked for the application letter of interest, things like that. They had stated in there the failure of 2 attorneys. So there were 2 attorneys didn't reply. One actually sent an application, but it was to another county. So they couldn't get full response back from there. So he's talking about that in here. In the Central Committee's opinion, 2 of the attorneys responded satisfactorily and 2 did not. He highlights in here the failure of the 2 attorneys to respond satisfactorily to the Central Committee does not affect their status as applicants to the county for the position, but should only affect their ability to be named as a nominee by the Central Committee. So where they had 4 to choose from, if there's an attorney that refuses to comply with their letter seeking a letter of interest, a resume, all of this other additional information, or what I reference it in my head to and liken it to is jumping through the hoops. So if those attorneys don't want to jump through their hoops, that just means that one of those attorneys that doesn't submit all that information could most likely be left out of that 3 nominated attorneys. But there's no legal obligation for attorneys to comply with the request of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party shall nominate 3 of those applicants. That's all they're supposed to do. How they get to those 3 is not defined. It's not detailed. But nevertheless, if there's no response from attorneys, they can't disqualify or discredit those attorneys. Those are still among 4 of the applicants, whether they comply or not. And the same stands for you, commissioners. If you would like, and if you want to set up this process to jump through hoops for these attorneys, they do not have to comply with those. They just stand the likelihood of not being nominated as that candidate. And so obviously they would want to jump through the hoops, but apparently on here, some of them didn't want to jump through the hoops that the Democratic Party put before them. But all that was at chance is the fact that they may not be nominated one of the 4. In here, it states in one of these paragraphs here, it's if the Central Committee fails to nominate 3 individuals by the deadline, then the County Commission shall proceed to appoint one of the 4 applicants, which I had mentioned. On here, he states that right before the conclusions, you can see that the County Commission were to proceed with the draft resolution. This is speaking specifically to the resolution, which is of concern to me. That if you do proceed with this draft resolution and nominate an attorney outside of the 4 original applicants, this would force a legal battle between the County Commission, County Clerk, the 4 applicants, the illegally appointed attorney, and eventually the governor, and eventually other parties like the Republican Party could also be a part of that. In his conclusion, this is his legal analysis, and in his conclusion of that legal analysis, there are 4 applicants for the vacant San Juan County attorney position. The County Commission should not pass the draft resolution to solicit additional applicants, but should instead wait to see what the San Juan County Democratic Party Central Committee decides to do. Well, they decided to do nothing and put it back on your hands. If they make timely nominations for 3 of the 4 applicants, or if they fail to make nominations, and the commission is then allowed to consider all 4 applicants, the county commission shall carefully consider those individuals and make an appointment within 120 days. And so when you go back to that resolution, where you are requesting me to go outside and seek other applicants by those dates that Commissioner Maryboy had amended, you have a legal opinion from a county attorney that that is a legal act. And so there are issues and concerns with this resolution that you have before you, and that action of going outside and seeking more applicants. That is a long description of the whole resolution and a lot of information, I understand, but I know individually some of you have already heard the issues that are presented here.
Technically, one of the 4 attorneys that respond was applying for a different county position.
He did.
Is it? Okay.
That's a smart move. I think that of all of them,
Therefore, the statement or the understanding of the 4 eligible that met the requirement is down to 3.
no, the
3.
so that was at the request of the
Yeah.
Democratic Party.
Down to 3 of the 4. One applying for another county position. Does that still permit consideration for the position? If he's applying for another county position other than San Juan County?
Yeah. Yep. Great question. Great
so
questions. So there's,
That is my question.
yeah.
So if that's the case, then what I'm saying is out of the 4, that brings it down to 3 applicants.
So no, it's the second process. The first initial process was to comply with the clerk auditors, how you apply. And we received 4. We received 4 letters back from the 5 attorneys. And so that's the application. The Democratic Party, when they solicited back to the attorneys, and I'll show you what they had sent out to the attorneys. This is their paragraph that they send out. And I'll show you, they're all the same, but I'll show you Mr. Hall's, which is Craig's. They had asked on here, they recognize the importance. They request that you submit an application that includes a letter of interest describing in detail your prior experience, why you are interested in the position, why you think you are best qualified to handle the duties of a county attorney, and any time and substance of restrictions and or conflicts with your current legal practice. Please also attach your current vitae, which is your resume or your CV. So they had asked specifically for an application that includes these items on here. So they asked for additional information of the 4 applicants. And Craig, what he submitted back to them, like they had asked, an application with a letter of interest with your prior experience. So why do you have an application for Grand County? Because the Democratic Party asked him to fill out to submit an application. They didn't ask him to submit a specific application. They didn't ask him to submit a San Juan County work app. We don't have an application for an elected official. And so they just asked him for an application. So he complied 100% to their letter. He sent in an application and it didn't say whether it's to.
The other question I have is, first, we are elected official, and the form is provided by county auditor office that we submit. And why is the alteration to just submit a declaration of candidacy be in the form of a letter when there's a form that is available? Now, that's the kinds of alterations in the process that is being changed. And that's where my question lies.
Mhm.
Why not treat everybody
I
the
did.
same?
Mine was identical. It's only when the Democratic Party got involved did it start changing. But I followed the intent of the law. You had to live in the county. You had to be
That is
licensed,
not my question.
and you have 10
That
days
is
to.
not my question. My question is, why just to let them submit a letter when there's a form for declaration of candidacy?
They weren't running for office. It was just determine their interest in this spot. And so I asked them, you have 10 days to let me know.
I checked with, so I asked Johnny that question. I'm like, well, Johnny, there's some confusion and concern about this application. And I'm like, we don't have an application here. He's like, well, the law, and if you think of the law, and I've talked to you about this before, the law is what you have to follow at the minimum. That's exactly, you have to follow that. If the commission wants to have in excess, then we can adopt an ordinance that says our applications for candidacy are this, and go further, one step further than the law, and have an application form or an actual declaration of candidacy form. But we would have had to have that in ordinance prior to going through this process. All that the law states in there, which we followed, was the clerk auditor is supposed to notify them, have them apply, and he had them apply by submitting a letter of declaration of candidacy. Had we had an ordinance in place first saying that anytime we have a vacancy, we need to have that vacant position apply with a application from San Juan County or an actual declaration of candidacy form, all of that would have had to have been done first before we solicited.
The other one is Central Democratic Party requested application. So, and the sits reading under 3AI. It says, if before the deadline described in subsection 2C, more than 3 attorneys who are licensed active members in good standing, state bars, Utah State Bar, and registered voter, county or district have applied for the vacancy, the county clerk shall accept as provided in subsection A3A2, submit applications to the County Central Committee. So, as I understand, there's going to be an application.
Just interest.
It doesn't say interest. It does say application right there.
The law does, and the application form that Lyman Duncan suggested that they fill out was a letter of declaration of candidacy. That was how they applied. We didn't give them further instructions in that letter. It's like, if you want to apply for this vacancy, submit a letter of interest, declaration of candidacy. That was it. And that section of code says, clerk auditor, once you receive those, if there are 3 or more, then you submit them to the central party, of which we did. And that's where
Those are my observation.
Chair,
And
can I make a comment to the process, please? Just because I've been through it. Would it be okay if I just made a quick comment? Respectfully.
go ahead.
Thank you for allowing me. So I'm part of the Republican Party Central Committee. And when we were asked to participate in the process in replacing John David Nilsson, with who we ended up selecting as Lyman Duncan as the clerk auditor, we didn't receive applications. There are no applications in San Juan County for that. It was requested that they submit their resume, which that was the application. Mr. Duncan requested the application be in the form of a letter of interest, which they did. So he's the only one that can qualify or can decide whether those attorneys are qualified. I couldn't have gone back and said, we don't like any of these. We want to extend the time. That is outside of the law. It violates the law. I'm also an elected official on Monticello City Council, and as elected officials, we take an oath to uphold the law. You can maybe petition to, put other provisions in place afterwards, but you have to follow the law in the process. And that's what's been done. If the Democratic Central Committee wanted more information and they didn't receive that, then they could just simply say, this person didn't provide that, so we're not going to recommend that person. But it doesn't unqualify those applicants. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the comment. Based on the detailed information that Mr. McDonald provided and comments that I made, reference to certain lines in the code of the, as far as relating to section to consider hiring a county attorney, I will go ahead and second the motion. Mr. Mayor Boyce. So with that,
by the advice of the Lieutenant Governor, I'm going to be reaching out to the Attorney General because I have discussed this with the Lieutenant Governor, and she recommended
That's
that I
your
reach out to the Attorney
prerogative.
General. It absolutely is. It's sad that our county
That's your
cannot abide
prerogative.
by the law and refuses to abide by the law. It's not okay. It's
Well-
not okay. We teach our kids
there's
you
no
abide by the
argument
law
that
whether
the
you agree with it
motion
or not.
is made and second.
An illegal motion. It's illegal.
So, call for the question.
Point of order.
All those in favor
Call for the
say aye.
question. Aye.
Aye also. Opposed?
I oppose.
Okay. 2 in favor. 1 opposed. Motion carries.
It goes both ways. I mean, we teach our children how to abide by the law, whether we agree or not, right? We will not get them changing. We can't do it after the fact.
Okay, the next ones on your agenda that would have followed
Despicable
um,
and shameful.
the actual process. Let me get to it real fast.
Was that a threatening comment?
On the resolution,
Yeah?
on the one I'm trying to find right here, this resolution that you're looking at.
No. The comment that was made when, with the process of.
Of the
that I
process.
will do this and do that.
I don't understand your question. I'm lost.
Well, she says I'm going to do this and do that, so,
Oh, the lawsuit.
yeah,
No,
I
that-
don't know.
Yeah,
Is that a threat?
no, I explained that it's even in your legal analysis from King County that the likelihood of you getting sued is super high if you pass that resolution. And so that, yeah,
Yeah.
that was just factual that,
So, to me, any lawsuit could be challenged. If that's the case, I think we can provide an answer for it.
yeah.
So, to me, the code itself is dictatorial.
It is correct.
Yes,
And
totally. It has no flexibility.
it
as
doesn't.
to- It
And-
just provides a hallway with no way out.
It provides the path to
Yeah.
nominate and select and fill a
That's all
vacancy.
you can't scratch when you're itching.
Yeah. But that's the problem is you have to follow that. And Lyman Duncan, in the first section of that, he followed that. He gave 4 applicants to the central committee. And you're going off of what the central committee had
Have we
discounted
voted?
or kicked out.
Okay,
And so you're relying on what the central committee did. And
So-
all
we'll go to the next
Have
one.
we voted?
we did, there was a question in there that Commissioner Gray Eyes had of me.
What was that, Mr. Mayorboy?
I'm just asking, did we vote it?
Yes,
Well, Mr. Chair, that
Two.
would be point of order because once we act on something, then you can't go back on it.
The chair was asking a question.
there was a statement made regarding the issue after the vote without having to provide an opportunity or given the floor. And that the question I asked, is that a threatening statement? So that was my question. But there's no legal people around, so I have no idea. I'll just have to.
Yeah, that's other than that legal analysis from King County. That was why I provided that to help you legally work through those muddy waters.
Anyway, we'll go to the next one, number 9.
So number 9 really wouldn't.
When- that would have been the alternative, right?
This would have been an alternative to actually appoint somebody today. So
And
this one
number
I'd
10,
recommend.
the same.
No, this one I'd recommend that you actually table this resolution or deny, either one.
Okay,
It's no longer a valid resolution, but the next one is. So,
number 9 or
so yes, so on, I lost my agenda. So on item number 9, this one here is just because you passed item number 8, you're no longer at the appointing
so number 9 would be table.
tabled or denied, either one.
Okay,
Motion to table.
okay. Mr. Mayorboy, motion to table number 9 item. Is there a second? I will go ahead and second. Is there any discussion? If none, call for the vote. All those in favor
Aye.
say aye. Aye also. Opposed?
I'm going to abstain because I think what we did in number 8 was illegal.
Okay. 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstain. Number 10,
Okay, number 10 is a resolution of San Juan County Board of Commissioners appointing Deputy County Attorney Alex Gobo as the interim county attorney until a successor is selected. So in Utah Code, Section 20A-1-509.3, there's a procedure for making an interim replacement while we are still working out the county attorney vacancy. So this just appoints him as the county attorney, as an interim county attorney position with an interim pay increase of 9%, also as an interim exempt employee while fulfilling the county attorney duties. This is all allowed by Utah Code, but it puts him into that position where he will then be able to continue prosecuting and acting in behalf of the county attorney as signing signature authority. We can begin recruiting and then advising us as county staff contractually of those obligations that we have. Any questions? So this is like an interim to the appointment.
I'll make a motion that we pass Resolution 9 so that the county attorney's office can continue to do business until we find an interim or until something happens.
that's item 10.
Yep. Item 10.
You said 9, so. Is there a second?
If we don't appoint somebody to act for the county, then every week they go to trial, there'll be nobody there.
Have to continue to sign the bills, overseeing their staff.
I'll put my second on. We need to keep the engine running.
Right.
With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed?
I oppose.
Okay. Motion carries, 2 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay. That's it.
Commission reports is next on your agenda.
Mr. Adams or Mr. Maryboy? Your report, if you need.
I have a USIP meeting on Thursday. I have joint highways on Friday in St. George, and next week is UAC Management Conference in Ogden. That's my report.
Mr. Maryboy, you have a report?
Mr. Chair, I will be around. We just barely had our Utah, the Nebuchadnezzar 10th anniversary in Bluff this past Saturday. A lot of people showed up, and we had a huge dinner, and also on May 9, 8, and 9, every veterans, the Vietnam veterans were never appropriately welcome home. So we're working on doing a special Vietnam Veterans Memorial and also commemoration by the Utah Dene, not the Nebuchadnezzar, Utah Dene, welcoming our warriors. So that will be happening in Bears Ears with a horse ride and a run all the way from Montezuma Creek to Bears Ears, and some other events that will be taking place. And then other than that, I'm still driving the roads, and I'm out here. I finished delivering the pellets with the pellet stoves for the elders. And other than that, the rest of the week I'll be around. So that will conclude my my report.
Okay. Mine is short, doing some meetings. I didn't realize that the county coordinating meeting was going to take place yesterday. That took place yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with County.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was at the school board meeting,
Oh, I told him you probably had another conflict
Yeah.
with another board meeting.
and I figured it was going to be on the 20th. Somehow,
Yeah, I
My,
sent you a couple emails on that.
anyway, I missed that.
That's all right.
Hopefully, everything pan out in the discussion and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah.
But there's another meeting planned for next month.
For May, yeah, they did. We'll have to work on who attends that. The mayor of Moab, as well as Mary McGann, both requested Commissioner Adams there, where it's his district. They acknowledge that. Where's Commissioner Adams? Why isn't he here? This is really his district. And so I told him you two are going to have to arm wrestle. But both of them were asking for Commissioner Adams as well. And so,
Okay. Yeah. 21st, we have San Juan County Public Health meeting for Thursday. So, then we have other functions that are related to school. We have a conference coming up on the 28th and 29th. So that's about it. Trying to, I attended 7 county Infrastructure Coalition also on the 14th. And there was a bunch of people that came through. One of them sort of interesting presentation, which is establishing a manufacturing for batteries for vehicles, and I don't know what we have in the county as far as property, what it takes to start a manufacturing, put a building up, something. Maybe I thought maybe it would be interesting to accommodate the new buses for the school district across the county, and delivery trucks. Maybe we could invite that individual sometime to do that. The other thing is we have a new director, that's Mr. McKeith. McKeith will be leaving at the end of this month. The new director is Keith Heaton. I figure, I'll just go ahead and support, because he has, assuming he has some knowledge as far as the government relationship and so forth, how to approach, develop projects and so forth. And hopefully he would support my project. Continue the progress. So with that, that's my extent of my report. So.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is made
Second.
to adjourn, second by Mr. Maryboy. Any question? There are none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Motion carried.